right, everybody, welcome, welcome. All right, check my audios here. Okay, that sounds good. Whew, a busy day last night and overnight, and we are back at it with more severe weather coverage here in especially the Ark-La-Tex area, Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, and then up into eastern Oklahoma today, under the gun for more severe weather. Since we last streamed overnight, the Storm Prediction Center has lessened the risk, especially in the northern mode. And you can see here, this is reflected in the newer SPC forecast. The enhanced risk is really just confined to eastern Texas, northwest Louisiana, and then also southwest Arkansas. They've also reduced the slight risk. It just goes up into southern and central Missouri. A lot of Arkansas is still in the slight risk, and then a lot of north and west Louisiana, as well as down to the Houston, Texas area, and then up through the areas just east of Dallas and College Station. We do have a marginal risk for some areas up here in the Midwest, so we'll see if anything gets going up there as the afternoon continues, but there is a bit of a risk still in places like Iowa, western Illinois, and the northern half of Missouri. Those areas so far have been pretty quiet. We can take a look here at the overall radar. Still find our low pressure system now up in the Dakotas near Minnesota. So that may end up sparking some storms up here in the Midwest, but we'll have to see. The atmosphere is a little more stable than originally expected after the long batch of storms moved through this area overnight and into the morning. So it kind of remains to be seen if this area can destabilize enough to produce some stronger thunderstorms. So back down into our slight risk areas. We'll get right back into where we were last night. This storm actually just got upgraded here near McAllister, Oklahoma for 1-inch hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds. Let me close out the outlook here. So taking a look at this, definitely a hail core starting to develop here on the west side of McAllister. That's going to continue riding up here along US 69, and it looks like Oklahoma 31. So we definitely have to pay attention to this storm here in eastern Oklahoma. And just checking, let's see, northeast at 35. So it looks like the heaviest part of this storm may go just to the north of the McAllister area. Here's the city of McAllister down here. If it stays on that northeast trajectory, McAllister may be spared from the largest hail threat. But especially if you live on the north side of McAllister, it's time to get into a interior room away from windows. Hail that is wind-driven can do almost just as much damage as even a lower-end tornado. So we definitely have to take wind-driven hail as a pretty big threat. If anyone's out in the Eufaula, Oklahoma area, out on the reservoir, if you know anyone out there, you might want to give them a call, let them know. There's a pretty good storm coming up from the north or from the southwest. It may skirt the southern end of the lake around Carlton Landing here along US 69. So if that holds together, also Quinton, Stigler, and McCurtain in Oklahoma could be affected, is that storm is generally headed up that direction. We do have other storm initiation here in eastern Oklahoma, so it looks like we may start to get some severe weather coming out of this area south and east of Tulsa. Still not seeing a ton of storms at the moment that are showing strong hail, but and not a lot of rotation up here. So I think the primary threat is going to be wind and hail. So a little bit ago, we had a little more individual supercells. One up here closing in on Jacksonville, Texas, and then another one here near Bremen. This one has been rotating for quite a while. You can see here over the last little bit, these cells have started to cluster together. So we're getting a bit of a QLCS situation developing here, and we'll have to remain vigilant. This is going to turn likely into a damaging wind threat, but there's still a pretty strong storm down here near Marquez. This is approaching Centerville, Texas, along I-45, and that's where our camera is located right now. You can see on the other side of the screen there, we have rain coming down on the camera. It should update every now and then, so this is not a video stream camera. This is a camera that just takes a picture every few minutes, but it is right in this area just north of Centerville, and our rotation is actually coming towards that area here over the Marquez area, so we may be able to pick up and at least see the meteorological conditions, even if we can't see the live video stream from the DOT camera. We can at least see what's going on under the storm clouds and what we're seeing there. Right now, especially the areas here near Marquez, Texas, along US 79, need to definitely be paying attention to this storm. It might slide just to the north of Centerville itself, but you guys are in the tornado warning, so we definitely need to be taking our tornado precautions here, as well as the areas around Jewett, Texas, up along 79 between Marquez and over there. If you have any interest along 79, that's going to be a pretty key area here. And then 45, this should go slide south of Buffalo, Texas, and north of Leona. But especially if you're in that Centerville area in Texas, you need to be under our tornado safety precautions here. This isn't rotating quite as much as it was a few minutes ago. It has a lot of lightning, though, with it. So this is a powerful thunderstorm still that we need to take seriously. You can see back a little bit further towards the Bremen area, had pretty good rotation at times. And even just on the southwest side of Marquez, this definitely has a potential to produce a tornado here. We can take a look at it, and not seeing a defined CC drop. There's probably some hail in here too. This is not going to be one of those tornadoes that we're going to see very good. This is up here in the rain, so if you're out in Centerville, don't leave your safe place here to try and take a picture of it. This is, if it is in here, it's going to be a rain wrap tornado tucked back in here near 79. Not seeing a big CC drop with this storm, so it may not be on the ground right now, but it's something we definitely have to take seriously here. And also $half size hail. This is going to be moving east at 20. So the storms today don't have quite as much forward momentum as we've seen over the last couple days. Taking this out just a little bit northeast of east at 20. So Concord, you got about 5 minutes. Margie, about 5 minutes. Robbins, 5 to 10 minutes. And then Centerville, where this traffic cam is here, about 30 minutes. Yeah, this was definitely a healthier looking storm just a little bit ago. It's been getting a little bit of interference from these storms and showers that have been coming up from the south. There's some more out ahead of this that we have to watch out for over I-45 right now. These are going to be moving towards this storm. That could sometimes lead to a little enhancement of the vorticity, but those also can cut off the inflow. So we'll have to see how this storm continues to handle those interferences from these cells that are out ahead of it. Still that rotation here along 79 near Marquez, Texas, moving east-northeast. That's coming generally towards the Centerville area and I-45 here around Centerville. We have one other tornado warned storm Right now, it's a tornado warning storm here north of Palestine, Texas, out along Highway 287 and Texas 19. This is also headed towards the 155 corridor here north of Palestine, Texas. Pretty nasty storm. There might be some hail in here as well in those purples. This is all moving a little east, northeast. It's also going to get a severe thunderstorm warning out ahead of this for this whole section of the line. Damaging winds and hail are a possibility, and then it's also going to be warned for a tornado possible. That's going to be out ahead of this tornado warning here. So if you're out by Jacksonville, Texas, you need to start taking your safe places here. We can also take a look and see that rotation here as it's come across the Palestine area, just kind of south of Tennessee Colony. We're a little bit further from the radar here, so not getting a great look at it, but it's definitely rotating, at least at the higher levels overseeing this storm. Yeah, it's going to be hard to see the ground truth from this storm since we are a little bit higher in elevation. We're pretty far from the radar. So let me see if there's a closer radar here. Where are we looking? So yeah, we're getting the radar out of Shreveport, Louisiana. Let's see. And then also a little far from the Round Rock radar. Still seeing it though from both radar sources here, this rotation up along 287. This likely will slide just to the north of Palestine, Texas, but if you're over here towards Natchez, along US 79, this is headed your way here. Certainly if you're in this tornado warning, you need to take it seriously. Lowest level, interior room. Put as many doors between you and the outside as possible. And especially if you have a basement or a storm shelter, that's even better. Below ground is even better. This is moving east-northeast. And then likely out ahead of it, we have likely some damaging wind threats here. This area is starting to bow out a little bit, so we need to be really cautious of that here. This is quickly turning into a bit of a cluster of storms, so we're really going to have to watch out for if this can organize a little more into a bowing line segment. If it does, that would produce an increase in damaging wind threats as far possibly down as the Woodlands and definitely around the Lufkin area, Nacogdoches, and Jasper, Texas here in East Texas. So something to watch. The models were kind of indicating that. The models were kind of indicating that these individual cells would kind of form into a cluster, and that cluster would propagate through East Texas and then into Louisiana through the night. So we definitely have to start watching for that. It looks like that's starting to take place here in between Jacksonville and Centerville, with storms actually trailing all the way back to Temple and Belton, Texas. Also to watch out for storms here developing in the southern parts here. The tornado watch even goes down to the cities east of San Antonio. So we could still get some development down here. Right now, any of this development around College Station does not look severe. But if any of these storms can organize, they're in a pretty favorable environment with some higher humidity levels and dew points down in this part of Texas. Pretty strong cell here now east of Tyler, Texas. This is actually moving more north than east. So it's going to be sliding up towards Kilgore. And Longview. Right now it has a special weather statement on it for 40-mile-an-hour winds and half-inch hail. You can see that hail core developing though. And that's going to move up towards Overton and Kilgore. Just taking a look at, so yeah, moving northeast at 40. So moving northeast at 40. That's going to bring it up to Overton in about 5 to 10 minutes. And then from there, it's going to be in Kilgore in about 20 minutes. And if that holds together, Longview in about 40 minutes, 35 to 40 minutes. So definitely, if you're out ahead of this, take it seriously, especially with some hail cores growing here now south of Overton. That's moving up northeast towards Longview. We can back up the radar a little bit and just see what that looks like. It's been upscaling somewhat, so yeah, that's a storm that we'd have to pay attention to here in East Texas. So right now, again, 2 tornado warnings. Both are radar indicated. We'll go down to our southern storm first. Check this one out as it's approaching Centerville. Rotation is definitely broadened here now that it's moving east of 79. This is along Texas Route 7 between Marquez and Centerville, and then now east of 79, west of 45. So if you definitely have interest in those areas, still let's stay below ground. Let's still stay in our tornado safe place here and let this storm pass. It definitely means business. Maybe some small hail also showing up here along 79. Our traffic camera is right in the Centerville area, so we're getting some heavy rain already into this area. If there is a tornado on the ground, we're not going to see it coming. But in general, that rotation is near the Friendship area, North Salem, South Salem, Margie, Redland, Centerville, Pleasant Springs. This is moving east, a little bit northeast, Corinth, Midway. Let's see, what other small towns are up in here? Newby and Pleasant Ridge. Okay, we're going to get an extension on the tornado warning up here. This is in the Palestine, Texas area. This is northeastern Anderson County in central Texas, capable of producing a tornado and moving east at 35. It's also being warned for $half size hail. It's a little shy of 1.5 inch hail. Yeah, so pretty decent rotation picking up. We're seeing it at a higher altitude than I would prefer, but there's definitely hail in here too. You can see that on the CC. Some of these greens and yellows are all correlating with the hail core that's also coming across the Palestine area. Yeah, this far away from the radar site, it's going to be hard to really pinpoint if there's a tornado on the ground here until this moves a little further north and east. We're taking it from the Shreveport radar. Close to 120 miles from that radar site. And you can see here this ring is the maximum distance of our radar site. We're much closer to that ring of maximum distance than we are to the radar. So if you're in kind of east central Texas, ask your politicians to get you another Doppler radar. If this warning does continue, it could come out towards the Jacksonville, Gallatin, and Rusk area along US 69. So not in a tornado warning yet, Jacksonville, but you need to start thinking of your tornado safety plans. Lowest level, interior room, away from doors, windows, and the outside. If you got a storm shelter or basement, that's even better. And definitely not be in mobile homes or temporary structures like a garage, a large span roof. We saw that yesterday near Marietta, Oklahoma. Um, Posted that actually to our Twitter page earlier here this afternoon. But the tornado cut right through a large warehouse complex, and it just peels back like a metal tent. Those large span structures aren't actually that structurally sound in a tornado. So out ahead of this, you got a little bit of time to start thinking about your tornado action plan and start getting that stuff together. This is coming through the 155 corridor and 7984 here in the Palestine area. There are storm chasers out here today, so if we do get any confirmation, we do have some storm chasers and spotters still out in this part of Texas. DFW area, you're pretty much clear of that severe weather today. A lot of this is all now south and east of you guys. And pretty much most of the I-35 corridor now, Killeen, Waco, Austin. The tornado watches are all out east of you. So again, still watching for some development in this area over here around College Station. This storm here, you can see the lightning around this storm. That means it definitely has a growing updraft here, and it's definitely producing a lot more lightning than the showers and storms around it. So this is one to watch. Looks like there's another one up here north of College Station. That one also has quite a bit of lightning with it. If those storms can organize here out ahead of the line, they're ones that could produce have a higher chance of producing some severe weather today. And then I also want to check in here near the McAllister area. Still seeing that storm here coming up along 69 towards Crowder, Canadian, and Carlton Landing. This one was moving slower. Was it moving at 20? Let's see. Moving northeast at 35. I'll take it kind of the leading edge of the stronger weather here. So Crowder about 10 minutes, Canadian 15 minutes or so, and then Carlton Landing about 25 minutes. That's an interesting town name, Bug Tussle. About 5 minutes or less to get to Bug Tussle. Reams, you're also getting pretty close here to this. There it is. There's Bug Tussle, Oklahoma. Mark that one down for interesting town names. It's also coming towards Maisie Point, Blocker, Featherston, Mecco, Bristol Point, and then areas here near Eufaula Lake. Definitely if you have interest out on the lake today, you need to watch this storm. And if you know anyone here out on the lake, boating and stuff like that, fishing, give them a call. Let them know that the storm here to their southwest is severe warned for some hail and damaging winds. There's a little bit of broad rotation, but overall the tornado threat up this way is lower today. Tulsa had a lot of severe weather yesterday with some powerful hurricane force winds. Nothing severe right now, but that's a pretty good cell coming through Jenks, Glenpool, and Mounds right now. Storms out here in eastern Oklahoma are moving a little more northeast. So those strong storms here near Jenks are going to move up towards Broken Arrow, Catoosa, Fair Oaks, and especially areas east of downtown Tulsa. And then watching for initial or more storm development in eastern Oklahoma. So get back down to our tornado warnings here. We have the one tornado warning that's north and east now of Palestine, Texas. This is between Palestine and Jacksonville, Texas, around the Wells Creek, Dean White, Kossuth, Jarvis, Herring, Neches or Natchez, Todd City, Mound Prairie, Pert, Elmtown. Definitely have some pretty sizable hail likely in here. Now moving towards the Neches or Natchez area. Right around the Wells Creek. And that area is around the Wells Creek, where we're also seeing that rotation. Here along US 79 between Palestine and Neches. Let me know in the chat if you know how to, if you're from this area and you know how to say that. Yeah, but right around Wells Creek, that's where we're looking for any tornadic development. Not seeing anything right now. This is likely hail contamination in here, as this also co-locates over the hail core of the storm. And then also seeing some pretty strong winds back behind this circulation. So this storm definitely means business. There's likely, beyond the tornadic threat, there's likely a wider area here of 50 to 60 mile an hour winds. That's headed over towards Jacksonville, Rusk, Gallatin. What are they warning it for? Yeah, 60 mile an hour winds and 1-inch hail. Wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit more hail than that in here. There could even be some half-dollar size hail, especially in that area here near Wells Creek. Yeah, those purples are pretty thick in here. These pink and purple colors indicate some pretty good hail. That also indicates that it's a pretty strong updraft. It's supporting some larger hail cores. So definitely one we have to take seriously. And then checking in here, this is near our traffic cam. Traffic is going a lot slower too in that part of 45. But still has a rotation here coming into the Centerville area. Back here just west of 45 between Jewett, Texas and Centerville, along and just north of Highway 7, Texas Highway 7. You can see though this was a tighter circulation a little further back. It's definitely a rotating supercell in here, but it's broadened out its rotation quite a bit. Let's see. So right now, 2 tornado warnings we're following here in Texas, and a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings. One has a tornado possible tag. That's near the Jacksonville, Texas area, and back in Oklahoma, Pittsburgh County, Oklahoma here, near McAllister. I'm noting a little bit more rotation on this cell. And we're definitely seeing a little bit of CC drop. That indicates there is a hail core in here. So this cell definitely can produce some sizable hail in here. 1-inch hail, 60 mile an hour winds. Seeing that pretty healthy updraft. So not any rotation that would be tornadic right now, but that does indicate that's a pretty strong updraft in there. And then those storms that I mentioned in the Tulsa area are now have a special weather statement out for them for 50 mile an hour winds and nickel-size hail. Again, if those continue to grow, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a severe thunderstorm warning around these storms as they move up, likely just east of downtown Tulsa towards Broken Arrow, Fair Oaks, Catoosa, Verdigris, Owasso, Dawson, Bixby. It's pretty close to these. Those probably skirt along the areas here, especially north sides of Bixby. And then a bit of a cluster of non-severe thunderstorms, but have to watch any of these. If they start condensing, they could form a line segment that some of the models are picking up on another line segment going through the areas here in southwest Missouri and northwest Arkansas. So we'll have to see if that verifies. But some storms here. A couple of them are strong to severe in eastern Oklahoma. Right now, not a tornado threat, and likely not a tornado threat all evening. This area has been hit pretty hard with tornadoes. New storm down by Ardmore is worth watching for some small hail. Yeah, just kind of popped up here. This is an area that was definitely hit very hard for tornadoes yesterday. So this is going to slow down the cleanup process in the Ardmore, Dixon, and Marietta areas. Now it's a little bit north of Marietta here, but yeah, definitely some hail starting to show up here between Overbrook and Hawks Bar. Now east of I-35, so good news there. But this is going to continue moving north-northeast towards the Dixon Dripping Springs. If you're out cleaning up from the tornado damage, let's start getting inside here and let the storm pass with some hail, gusty winds, and just like any storms, lightning is always a threat, especially if you're outside working. Still seeing that circulation here, moving east of Palestine, Ohio, or not Ohio, but Texas, over towards the Neches area. This is about to cross into the warning here for Jacksonville. So generally head towards Jacksonville, New Summerfield, Gallatin, Texas, and Rusk, Texas. We'll have to keep an eye on this here as this rotation continues moving east-northeast. Also, I think they did up the hail in this. Now it is saying $half size hail. Yeah, that hail core is coming across here, 79. That'll head towards Pierce's Chapel, Prince's, Ironton, New Hope. That may head actually into the Jacksonville area. We're going to get an extension of the tornado warning here around Buffalo. Mentioned you guys earlier, Buffalo, Texas. Now this is going to pass north of Centerville. This is lifting a little bit more north. So Centerville still in a warning right now, but that expires in about 4 minutes. I would assume they're going to let that drop. This is going to be north of Centerville along 45. And this camera is basically right in that. Where'd it go? There we go. All right, this camera is, yeah, essentially right in this. Right about here. So it looks like the circulation is in the Corinth area, Midway. It's gotten a bit tighter than it was a couple scans ago. You can see it was fairly tight rotation here near Marquez. That's broadened a bit, but now it's starting to pick back up. See if they change the the direction much. Nope, it's about 30 miles an hour northeast. This is over Centerville, Texas. So we'll get a read on where this is going here. It's pretty close to the 45 corridor right now. The rotation should slide south of Buffalo, but still want you to be in your safe space. Flow in about 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. If it holds together, Malvern about 35 minutes. And possibly north of the Crockett, Texas area. Good news is there's not quite as many communities out here, but there are some. Timesville, St. Paul, Flow, Russell, Nineveh, Corinth, and Midway. This rotation is coming towards you guys. Malvern, Hopewell, Eunice, and Pleasant Springs also in the warning. So let's see here if it can organize after it's had some cell mergers. If it can start to reorganize here, which it may be starting to do in this area north of Centerville along 45 here. If it can clear out that inflow, it has a chance to tighten up in that rotation. The rotation was better when it was a little bit more discrete. Now it's had to get some cell mergers. There's also another cell coming up on its south side. That one is also bears watching, but I'm not seeing a lot of rotation on it at the moment. Mostly it's this area here around Corinth, Buffalo, and Midway. This is headed up towards Flow, St. Paul, Russell, Nineveh, Hopewell, Pleasant Springs, Eunice, Texas, Malvern, Texas. Rotation will be right in that Corinth area, crossing the interstate right now. And then still watching rotation, it's up here along 79. This is generally lifting towards Jacksonville, Texas. Our storm was extended out for a new severe thunderstorm warning. This is now includes Canadian Crowder, Carlton Landing, Eufaula, and much of Eufaula Lake. So they've adjusted a little further north. I believe the old warning was more towards like this area. So this is going a little more northeast. So definitely if you know anyone around the Eufaula area, Eufaula Lake, Carlton Landing, give them a heads up. This is a strong thunderstorm coming their way. Still seeing a little broad rotation, but this is a little bit higher, so it's just really indicating an updraft. We'll keep watching that, though. That's picked up a little bit. Some new storms showing a special weather statement, and then we definitely have mentioned it earlier. A new severe thunderstorm warning for the Tulsa area. This includes Jenks, just on the west side, the Broken Arrow, downtown Tulsa, Dawson, Garnett, Catoosa, Owasso, Sperry, Sayatook, and Valley Park. Strong storms here coming across Jenks, Oklahoma. Not really seeing any in the rotation that's concerning right now, but these are mostly a hail and damaging wind threat in the Jenks area, and it's sliding up towards downtown Tulsa and points east, especially at downtown Tulsa, Dawson, Garnett, Tiger, Catoosa, possibly over as far east as Fair Oaks. And just as we were talking about that, we have a new tornado watch here. All right, let's see here. So this is out for the areas just east of Tulsa, McAllister, Muskogee, Fort Smith, Mena, Arkansas, down in here along 71, areas just to the west of Russellville. This also includes the areas here around 44 south of Joplin, Fayetteville, Rogers, Bella Vista, Springdale, Green Forest, Siloam Springs. This is for a couple of tornadoes possible, scattered large hail up to ping pong ball size, and scattered wind gusts up to 70. So there you can see your tornado watch. It's for eastern Oklahoma and western Arkansas, and then just up to the areas south of 44 here around the Joplin area. Areas along just near Branson along US 65. So Branson over to Joplin, down to Tulsa, and then much of eastern Oklahoma, northwest Arkansas. Let's see what the Storm Prediction Center was thinking here. So they are thinking at the Storm Prediction Center that this area here, these clusters of storms, are going to continue to upscale and clusters of storms as they move through this tornado warned area or tornado watch area, and with that could produce damaging winds, hail, and some embedded tornadoes. So we really have to watch these cells here, especially as they start to cluster together and then move east through this watch area. There's some questions on the atmosphere recovery. So uncertainty remains high if the air mass can recover in the wake of all the early convection. But yeah, they think it's gonna, if it does recover, likely have clusters of thunderstorms with some embedded areas of rotation. So checking in on our storm here near Jacksonville now. Still has some rotation. It's a lot broader than it is. So this is now a severe thunderstorm with a tornado possible. Either way, high winds likely coming through the Route 69 corridor here from Jacksonville down to Rusk and Gallatin. Meanwhile, still have the rotation here near areas between Centerville and Buffalo. That's our traffic cam that's sitting in the Centerville area. Just on the north side of Centerville. So rotation is kind of just over the highway right now. This is moving towards Flow, Midway, Russell, Nineveh, St. Paul, Timesville, Sand Flats, and Oakwood here at the moment. Watching the storm here as it comes into the Eufaula Lake area, Carlton Landing. And we're going to get an extension of the tornado warning to the areas here towards north of Crockett. We mentioned you guys earlier, north of Crockett. It's going to be a continuation here ahead of this tornado warning storm along 45. So we're going to continue watching this here move east, northeast. This is headed eventually towards Grapeland, Latexo. This is for a tornado producing capable thunderstorm 11 miles east of Centerville, 12 miles northwest of Ostonio, moving east at 30. Still has a lot of lightning with this storm. This one too here up towards Jacksonville has quite a bit of lightning in it. Still likely some hail as well. That's coming into the Jacksonville area. Maybe a little bit here near Rusk. But primary right now, this is a damaging wind threat. Right along 69, Rusk, Gallatin, Jacksonville. Quickly also coming over towards New Summerfield, Texas. And then seeing an expansion of the severe thunderstorm warning. Looks like some of the storms are going to go a little more east than that original warning was. Yeah, there's a bit of a split here. Looks like this area of the storm is going to be sliding a little more east-northeast. That's going to be Broken Arrow, Onetta, Fair Oaks, Enola, Catoosa, and Verdigris. And then the other cell here is more headed north towards Dawson, Owasso, areas just downtown Tulsa and points east. If that holds together, it could be coming up towards Valley Park, Limestone, and Collinsville in Oklahoma. Starting to see those storms cluster. None of these are severe yet, but watching for a damaging wind threat and also a hail threat especially. Not seeing anything particular that stands out for a hail core yet, but some of these here, we got to watch these areas in here. If they continue to upscale and we start seeing more of those purples and pinks, then that's showing some larger hail in here, as this cluster would then make its way along 412, likely into northwest Arkansas. Watching a few storms here, non-severe near Seneca and Neosho, sliding up towards Joplin. Basically 44 south side of 44 here in the tornado watch area. And then we are going to get a tornado here on that area of rotation that is picking up here near Eufaula Lake. This is a weather spotter confirmed tornado here in Oklahoma. Yeah, I was worried we started to see rotation pick up here near Crowder, Oklahoma. This is along US 69 coming up towards Canadian and Carlton Landing. Let's check in and see if we can see this on the CC or not. Maybe some CC drops right here. That's pretty close to the clear air though. So it's going to be really hard to verify this from our angle here on the radar, but if the storm spotters say there's a tornado here near Crowder, then that is worth noting. So this is an observed tornado over Crowder, moving northeast at 25. Weather spotters confirmed the damaging tornado here. This would include areas here around Canadian, Carlton Landing. Carlton Landing, about 10 minutes. Canadian Fork, 15 to 20 minutes. And then if this holds together, Longtown in 20 minutes. Porham, Oklahoma, in about an hour. Let me see if I can get any other product that shows this observed tornado here. Not seeing it on my other products as well, so we just have to take the spotter's word for it. All right, make sure we get that out to as many people as we can. Again, this is a spotter observed tornado coming up along US 69 from Crowder to Canadian to Carlton Landing in Oklahoma. Eufaula, Oklahoma is also in this warning. And then areas here along I-40 near Chakotah need to also be in this warning, especially south and east of Chakotah. You need to be in your safe space. Areas here west of Whitefield are in the warning. Stigler, this should go north and west of you guys, but watching out for also heads up for the Porham, Oklahoma area. If this continues, it's going to be headed generally up that direction here. So right now we're watching this rotation here near Crowder, Bristow Point, Canadian, Texas. This is up again, coming towards Carlton Landing, Highway 9 Landing. This is areas along Lake Eufaula. So if you know anyone out here, you really need to give them a heads up to get off the water, get into a sturdy shelter. And then they're going to extend this out for a tornado possible tag. 60-mile-an-hour winds and nickel-sized hail for the areas around Porham, Warner, and Chakotah. You guys had tornado warnings last night too. So if you're out here, Warner to Porham area, you guys need to start thinking of your tornado safety plans. Start going to the lower levels of your building. You don't have to duck and cover yet, but start having a way to get stuff into your tornado safety plan. Maybe take the dogs in and bring them into your tornado safety plan. If that's a bathroom, a hall closet, laundry room, something interior on the lowest level, or a basement and storm shelter. That's even easier, especially if you got a finished basement or sturdy storm shelter. Is start headed down there, turn on the Weather Channel, turn on the local news, turn on us streaming here, and we'll get you through it. But yeah, confirmed tornado here over the areas here near Crowder, Canadian, up to Carlton Landing. And all the Lake Eufaula area needs to really pay attention to this. Checking in on our storms here. Hail core for this storm is coming up along Dawson. It's headed towards Owasso along 169. And then a pretty good hail core here showing up near Broken Arrow. I didn't see much rotation on it earlier, but this storm has a bit of a look to it. It's a little bit of a kidney bean. Still not really seeing a lot of rotation on it, so that's a good sign. But if this organizes a little further, it's definitely one to monitor here. Coming up Broken Arrow, Fair Oaks, Enola, Onetta, and areas here east side of Tulsa, and now north of Tulsa here towards Dawson, Sperry, eventually up towards Collinsville, Oklahoma, Owasso, Verdigris. Yeah, let's just investigate this storm a little bit more. Not seeing any rotation. We may actually be close to the radar where it's not low-level rotation, so there could be actually higher-level rotation that we're not seeing. A lot of times we see the reverse. If we're far from the radar site in a radar hole, a lot of times we're seeing upper-level rotation. Here, this storm looks like it just has that look to it. We just might be actually seeing too low and not low-level rotation, which is good. It means there's no tornado on the ground here. So I mentioned these storms earlier. They are upscaling Wagner up to Locust Grove and Colcord. This area has a severe thunderstorm tornado possible tag on it. Interesting though, it looks like the storms are going away from a lot of this warning. But we need to watch this. There's some rotation in here near Wagner, Taylor's Ferry. Nothing super strong right now, but certainly worth watching. And then checking in on our observed tornado. Not an update on it yet. We can certainly investigate a little further and see if we have a CC drop on it. There was one scan here where it went, when it went tornado warned, that it's hard to tell if that CC values here that are a little lower are debris or if that's just some pretty heavy rain and hail maybe up in this Crowder area. But that was the one scan where there was a little bit of suspicion. But we're not seeing a big, deep debris ball anyway. And still seeing a few lower values in here, but not something that just by the CC alone that says, tornado on the ground there. So this is one of the great reasons why we have weather spotters, is because they were able to pick out this rotation that's on the ground. Sliding back down to Texas, we have one still radar indicated tornado. This is coming up here near between Centerville and Grapeland, Texas. This is out here along Texas 7. It's going to go north of Crockett. But Latexo and Grapeland, you guys need to be in your tornado safe space here for this tornado warned storm. If we're along the I-45 corridor here, Centerville up to Buffalo and down to Marquez, you guys are all good. The tornado warning was canceled for that area. We did also get a 1-inch hail report. See if we can get an adjustment on the cameras here. So a larger severe thunderstorm warning is also going to get extended around that tornado warned part of the storm. You can see here quite a cluster is growing here. There's still an embedded supercell. You can see it actually even on the reflectivity here. There's a bit of a cluster forming, but we have to watch these little embedded areas of rotation. There may be one over there to watch too. We can take a look. Yeah, a little broad rotation down on that part of the storm too. But the main part of rotation we're watching here is this one that's coming up towards Grapeland and Latexo. Watch that one here down near Leona. If that does spin up a little more, and they do note this for a tornado possible tag too. So that's a good sign that they're at least paying attention and watching this. Yeah, that area is definitely worth watching down here near Leona, and I-45. Some big hail showing up in this part of the storm. Still seeing that rotation in here. Not seeing a debris signature, so that's good to see. And yeah, that's staying radar indicated. So right now, if you're just joining us, we got 2 tornado warned storms, one in Texas here, and then one up in the Lake Eufaula area. It's going to continue an observe tag. Let me see if they've updated this a little bit. Confirmed tornado located 3 miles northeast of Arrowhead State Park, moving northeast at 25. So again, if you're in a mobile home, if you're in a camper, camping trailer, or a tent out here along the lake, fishing, things like that, you need to be inside into a sturdy structure. This was an emergency management reported tornado here near Crowder. This is quickly coming up towards the Carlton Landing area. It's a pretty populated area here of, at least in this part of eastern Oklahoma. So Carlton Landing, Canadian Fork, Highway 9 landing. Tornado coming up for you guys. Eufaula, let's keep the tornado safety measures going here. This is likely going to slide, though, just to the east of downtown Eufaula. And then watching some broad circulations up here southeast of Tulsa. The storm is looking a little less healthy than it did earlier, so that's a good sign for the areas here. Broken Arrow. Up to Fair Oaks. Still some good hail showing up here in this storm along 169 north of Tulsa. 'Cause And then, yeah, we're going to extend a tornado possible tag for these areas north of Madisonville, Texas. There is some rotation here between Madisonville and Leona, Midway, Texas. And that's probably going to deserve a tornado warning if that keeps up. This is starting to really tighten up here. And yeah, the last couple scans have looked like rotation is strengthening here. If you're in this area here south of Centerville, towards Leona, Cooper, Midway, north of Madisonville, I would actually start thinking of your tornado safe space here. Lowest level interior room, away from windows. Let's take this storm pretty seriously. It has a tornado possible tag. It has some decent rotation in the Leona, Midway, Cooper, Texas area. And at the very least, then you've practiced your tornado safe space and your tornado action plan. This is along 45 here south of Centerville. And still seeing that rotation. It's not the fastest moving storm. So Grapeland and Latexo, you guys are still in this warning. You have a area rotation west of you that's crossing this river. So not as much population here at the moment, but Raynard, St. Paul, Timesville, El Caney, Latexo, Refuge, San Pedro, Priscilla, Halls Bluff. You guys are all in the tornado warning down there in Texas. So still some rotation, but this is turning quickly into damaging wind threat here, coming up from Jacksonville to Henderson, Texas. 1-inch hail and 70-mile-an-hour winds. So if you're out ahead of this, let's get inside, get away from windows. Henderson, Mount Pleasant, and even towards Beckville and Carthage here in Texas. You need to really start thinking of where you're going here into a sturdy structure away from these close to hurricane force winds. So if you're just joining us, we have 2 tornado warned storms, one down here in Texas and then one in Oklahoma right now. The Oklahoma one is observed, so we're going to go back to this one. Even though the rotation isn't as impressive on radar, this one has been observed by emergency management sources. Not seeing a lot in the CC to really confirm something, but it's in this little appendage back end hook coming up here near Carlton Landing, Canadian Fork, and Highway 9 landing here along Eufaula Lake. That'll also continue Enterprise, Hoyt, Texana, Dutchess Landing, and areas around Eufaula, especially east of Route 69. And then, yeah, let's start planning here ahead. Shady Grove, Warner, and Porham, especially on the southern side of that. The Porham area needs to really be paying attention to this rotation here. It's coming near Carlton Landing. If that continues on its track northeast at 25, that could put it more towards the Porham area in a little while. So Porham, again, it's moving at 25, so the rotation is likely about 40 minutes away, but you're going to get some general thunderstorms and possibly even severe thunderstorms with hail and winds ahead of that. So that's why I need to start thinking our tornado safety plan ahead. Still watching some severe storms around the Broken Arrow area, east of Tulsa now and north of Tulsa. This one here in particular up towards Owasso and coming towards Collinsville has a pretty good hail core on it. And also watching storms here, severe warned. Not seeing any tight areas of rotation, but these do have a tornado possible tag on them. Looks like mostly a wind threat. You can see the wind starting to surge out in this part of the storm. So really need to watch the wind threat here as we go towards northwest Arkansas and extreme eastern Oklahoma. We have a new severe thunderstorm with a tornado possible tag on it. This kind of looks like the storm up by Carlton Landing, so it's in a similar environment. So wouldn't be surprised if this one could put down a tornado. Yeah, that one has upscaled pretty quickly. Around Clayton and Albion, this is north and east of Antlers, Oklahoma. That's one to watch there. And also taking a look at these storms down here along the I-45 corridor. Still seeing that rotation in the Leona area. This has a tornado possible tag, so if you can get to your safe space, Leona, Midway, over towards Cooper, Texas. It's a pretty strong storm regardless of any rotation, and likely some hail in here. We talked about these storms a while ago around the College Station area. They're starting to upscale a bit. Starting to see a lot of lightning starting to intensify in these storms. Also over towards Montgomery, Texas. So we need to start keeping an eye on these storms to go severe. A little bit of broad rotation in this storm. Likely some hail in here. 50-mile-an-hour winds and half-inch hail. So wouldn't be surprised if we see a little more out of those storms. The storm is still rotating here along 45. Starting to look impressive here. It's separated out a little bit from the line. And then still watching this rotation here near Raynard, St. Paul, headed over towards Grapeland, Texas. Large area of 70-mile-an-hour winds. That's coming into Overton, Henderson, Mount Pleasant pretty soon. Eventually over towards Beckville and Carthage in Texas. If that area of 70-mile-an-hour winds holds together, this cluster of storms is eventually headed over towards Shreveport along I-20. So we need to start paying attention to this cluster of storms here, as it's likely going to ride along I-20 and point south of there for a while, especially the strongest storms coming up from Jacksonville. So be ready if you're on the I-20 area around Shreveport, and then Marshall, Timpson, and Center, Texas. This is likely going to continue to organize into that damaging wind threat that we're seeing here. All right, so still 2 tornado warned storms. And our storm in Oklahoma still has a observe tag on it. So let's go check and see. Yeah, still from updated at 5:40. Rotation doesn't look as impressive as it did earlier. It didn't look impressive anyway, but there still is some rotation in here, so we need to take that seriously. Eufaula, Carlton Landing, up towards Highway 9 Landing, Enterprise, Texana, and Dutchess Landing. That's an interesting cell. This one here along 271 north and east of Antlers also is showing rotation. This one has a tornado possible tag as it lifts up eventually towards the Albion, Oklahoma area. Located near Snow and moving northeast at 30. So Albion, Oklahoma, you get a little bit of time, but still need to start thinking about where you're going to go, and then also away from doors, windows, the outside. About 40 minutes to get to the Albion area. Nashoba in about 15 minutes, and Divide in 8 minutes. This area here in southeast Oklahoma is a little more sparsely populated. This is mountainous and forested pretty good, so there's not a lot of major cities, at least down in here. But that also means we may not get a lot of ground truth. Like we had a spotter in the Eufaula Lake area that's a little more populated around Carlton Landing, Eufaula. So if something is on the ground in here, we may not see it very good, especially with the rotation signatures that aren't very impressive, at least on the radar presentation. So this is going to get updated to a radar indicated tornado. So it's a storm capable of producing a tornado 5 miles southeast of Eufaula, moving northeast at 25. Weather spotters reported a funnel cloud though, so there's a funnel cloud on it. So this still could drop another tornado. We had the tornado report from Crowder, and apparently spotters are saying there's still a funnel on this as this comes up between Carlton Landing, Eufaula, and eventually towards areas here, Dutchess Landing and Texana. Nothing too concerning with these storms here. They're severe warned for some tornado possibles, but not seeing anything particularly damaging at the moment. Storm at the larger hail core north of Tulsa now is going to get an extension of the warning. 60-mile-an-hour winds, quarter-size hail. That's coming up Collinsville, Ugala, Talala, and eventually towards Jamestown and Wigginton. Chelsea and Foyle are also in this warning. And still checking our storms down here. This storm has looked more impressive every time we take a peek at it near Leona and Midway. The hail core is definitely picking up in this storm. We're seeing those pinks and purples, and still seeing that rotation. It's in here between St. Paul, Raynard, and Grapeland. The storm is not moving very fast. 30 miles an hour. So that's moving east at 30. The rotation looks even stronger on this storm, so I wouldn't be surprised if this gets a tornado warning. It may be getting a tornado warning right now, but let's See if we can see anything in here. Yeah, the presentation looks good. It's starting to get its inflow together. It's got a good hail core on it. That indicates a pretty powerful updraft. The tornado warning is actually for the storm that we were just looking at. Near Fort Gibson Lake and Taylor Ferry. In Oklahoma. So this is coming up towards Ely, Lost City, Gideon, Liberty, Peggs, Teresita, Lowry. You guys had some tornadic storms yesterday and tornado warnings. So here's another one that's over Fort Gibson Lake and Taylor Ferry. Five miles north of Sequoia State Park, moving northeast at 20. So another tornado possible here in eastern Oklahoma. And see the rotation has picked up over the last couple scans. There's still some broad rotation also in this cell. In a similar environment, the cell to the east of it. Both of these cells here are worth watching. They're both in the tornado warning. And you can see the one in here like this, and then there's another one right about like that. So they're both showing some rotation. That rotation has intensified over the last couple scans on both of these. So rotation in this cell is here near Ely and Lost City. And then the rotation here near a little stronger out of the two of them is just east of Taylor's Ferry. Let's see the direction that these guys are going. Yeah, just a couple scans ago, I had just like gone through and saw not much there. But then just a couple scans later, so they're both moving pretty much northeast. So yeah, that is going to be up towards Peggs, Liberty, Teresita, Lowry, Snake Creek, Iron Post, and maybe eventually over towards Rocky Ford. Yeah, unfortunately for those communities, we were calling your name last night too. Still radar indicated down there. And then just one tornado warning right now in Texas. Rotation is still in here. It's between St. Paul and Grapeland. So Grapeland and Latexo, you guys need to be in your safe space. But I'm also very curious on this storm here near Leota. It's now east of I-45. It's going to be headed generally from Leota over towards Cooper. It's showing some decent rotation. It has a tornado possible tag on it. But it also has a pretty strong hail core showing up. So that is also sliding over towards the Cooper, Texas area. If that holds together, it could also be towards the Crockett, Texas area. So Cooper up to Crockett, really need to be paying attention to this storm. And then also down towards Midway. Likely going to slide just to the north of you guys, but close enough that it's worth staying indoors, away from windows. And then if you're in that area east of Leota, I would definitely be away from windows. And then from Leota over towards Cooper, that's Ash, Middletown, Spiller's Store, Guy's Store, Ostonio. That one is a pretty dangerous looking storm. New storm here, the one that we were flagging earlier for upscaling, has a tornado possible tag, severe thunderstorm. This is north and east of College Station. But we can see that one's starting to grab some inflow. and rotate as well, with some broad rotation sitting in here right now. So it looks a little better on reflectivity than it does on the velocity scan. And then we've been talking about this area for a while. Marshall, Tipson, over towards the areas here near Shreveport, right on the Texas and Louisiana state line. You guys need to start getting your action plan together. We got some really strong storms with close to 75 to 70 mile an hour winds are possible in this, as well as some small hail. That's going to keep shifting over from Henderson to Carthage, Beckville, Tipson, Logansport, and eventually towards the Shreveport and I-49 corridor. There's some areas here showing a little bit of rotation, but nothing tornadic at the moment. But when these form line segments like this, you do have to watch the areas of inflow in the line segment. Not seeing anything imminently tornadic at the moment, but it's worth watching. Still have this strong storm here west of Grapeland. Rotation still showing up there. And then, yeah, this area between Leona and Cooper, if you can be in your safe space, I think it's best to treat this storm with respect. There's at least some larger hail in here, but this is a pretty impressive looking storm on the reflectivity as well as growing in the velocity. I want to check in on our 2 tornado warnings here in Oklahoma. There were 2 cells that we were noting. There's one area rotation here, and then one back here near Fort Gibson Lake. Looks like they've maintained kind of the same general aspect of their rotations. The rear one actually doesn't look quite as strong as it did earlier. This one has definitely maintained its rotation. So either way, we get 2 storms in here. Ely, Lost City, Peg, Gideon, Liberty, Terracete to Lowry, up towards Snake Creek and Iron Post. You guys need to be in your tornado safe space here, as these could form tornadoes at any time. Particularly those 2 areas of the storms. Not seeing anything that really shows anything on the CC, so we'll have to wait to see if there's a spotter confirmation on those. And we still have our storm lifting up along Lake Eufaula. The rotation doesn't look like it's holding like it even looked a few scans ago, so we'll see what they do. They're probably going to let this tornado warning expire as long as they don't get any new reports, and then the severe thunderstorm warning will take over for that. You can see a few scans back, it had a little bit more pronounced rotation, and even further back it did when it was over the Crowder area. But it had, looks like maybe a brief touchdown, and then there was another spotter report of a funnel cloud, so it may have lifted. A few of these storms out here also have a similar signature, so need to watch out for some brief funnels and touchdowns, as well as the storm that's tornado warned for tornado possible, and severe thunderstorm that's lifting up towards Albion in southeast Oklahoma. That's had some rotation there for a little while. The rotation seems to have broadened a bit here near Grapeland, Texas, so we'll continue watching that storm. It's a dangerous storm with some large hail also in this, coming over towards Elkhart and Slocum. And then this storm is the one in Texas that I'm most concerned about at the immediate time. It's got a pretty good hail core coming towards Cooper, and it's also showing signs of rotation. So really watching that area between Leona and Cooper, north of Midway. And then also watching some broad rotation here with this cell. Tornado possible, and some small hail and wind are possibilities with this storm here near College Station. It's going to go east of College Station. It's moving northeast at 45. Keep an eye on this one if you're in the Madisonville area. This storm is lifting up your way. Okay, I just actually posted on Twitter, WXCastUSA, so it's the same as our handle here on YouTube. But there was a chaser or spotter that actually had a pretty good tornado in Pittsburgh County. This is that's the Warren storm that was up by Crowder. So yeah, pretty photogenic looking tornado. This cluster of storms here near Jay is going to be sliding into northern Arkansas, Bella Vista, Rogers, Elm Springs. It's west of you guys now, but we need to start paying attention to that. Then I think the storm that's down here near Grapevine is going to get an extension. This is going to get an extension for also ping pong ball sized hail, so we need to really start paying attention there for the large hail size. This is located near Grapeland and moving northeast at 35 still. I always like to check the updates because sometimes I do correct the speed. It's not as impressive as it was, but since it has had circulation for a while, it's worthy to continue this here. Grapevine over towards Liberty Hill, Easley Chapel, Burrentown, San Pedro, Germany, Refuge, Priscilla, Mound City, El Caney, and Latexo all need to be in your safe space. This storm is trying to get its act together. It just likely hasn't rotated quite tight enough to warrant a tornado warning, but it's definitely one with large hail. We need to really be paying attention to over in the Crockett and Cooper areas in Texas. And then also just south of that, we really need to watch this rotation here. Cooper and Crockett and points just south of those two communities really need to pay attention. It's definitely rotating. If it picks up a rotation, then it would warrant a tornado warning, and that would probably stretch out towards Cooper and Crockett. So if you can be in your safe space, if you can be lowest level interior room, away from windows, away from doors, and away from the outside walls, that would be good. Maybe as far south as Lovelady. Crockett down to Lovelady definitely needs to pay attention to this storm that's to your west. The storm right in here is going to continue sliding east-northeast. So we really need to watch out if we're along Texas 19, Loveland, and Crockett. Jumping back up to our tornado warned storms here in Oklahoma. Still some rotation with both of these. It's not as impressive as it looked earlier, but still good to be in your safe space. Ely, Lost City, Peggs, Gideon, Liberty, Teresita, Lowry, Iron Post, up towards Snake Creek. Still some rotation with that tornado possible. Severe thunderstorm just slowly lifting towards Albion in Oklahoma. And then a new warning here for the Madisonville area in Texas. This is for the storm that's actually coming a different direction. Tornado possible with the rotation on its south side. This is all lifting up generally towards Madisonville in Texas along 45. So large hail, 1 inch in diameter, and 60-mile-an-hour winds are the primary threat there. Hold on just a second. Okay, there we go. That should work. Just double checking the sound here before we get back in it. Just as we were taking that quick break, we had a new tornado warning come in. Okay, sound looks good. So it's for that storm that I've been mentioning for the last, probably at least 10 or 15 minutes. It's this storm that's coming up near Lovelady and Crockett. We called you guys out earlier. Need to be now taking your tornado safety precautions. That's lowest into your room, away from doors, windows, and the outside. If you can get below ground, so basement or storm shelter, that's even better. But at least lowest level into your room, away from windows, away from the exterior walls. This storm has had a decent hail core for a while, and we're starting to see the hail core pick up. These radar returns here that show the pinks and blue colors, that's showing some really sizable hail. It takes a strong, powerful updraft to support large hail, so that's also indicating that we have a pretty healthy storm here. And you can just see the radar presentation looks pretty good. We have a decently tight area of rotation here. It's not the strongest level of rotation, but it's been holding its own for a while as it came across the Leona area and I-45. It's now coming eventually east-northeast towards Cooper, Crockett, Lovelady. You guys are in the warning. They essentially did what I think I was suggesting to do, is they replaced the severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado warning. This might slide just to the north of Lovelady, but we still want you to be in your safe space here. And definitely if you're up along Texas 19 and 21 towards Cooper and Crockett and Latexo, you guys all need to be in your safe space. Watch this further out towards Kennard, Texas. You guys need to keep an eye on this. as it's sliding up your direction. The hail core has come up quite a bit, and they also have upped that in their last warning for the tornado, so it's now golf ball sized hail. Wouldn't be surprised if there's even a little bit larger hail than that, than golf ball size, showing up with those blue colors. And just double checking, the forward momentum has stayed about the same. So an easterly forward direction at 30. And that's going to put it into Ash in about 5 to 7 minutes. Ostanio in about 10 to 12 minutes. Mapleton about 9 minutes. And if it holds on, Arbor in about 55 minutes. I also want to take a slice here because that's also going to show where the hail core is going. That puts it in Crockett in about 20 minutes. So Crockett in about 20 minutes. Porter Springs, 3 minutes. Cut, about 15. And then if that holds together down Texas Route 7, Kennard has about 50 minutes. So you guys have some time, but don't delay too much here as this gets closer to you, especially out towards Kennard. Kennard might have a little time. If you want to get the car in the carport or garage, then you got a little bit of time. You're outside the warning. If we're in the warning, though, Crockett, Cooper, and especially north side the Lovelady, you guys got to take your tornado safety measures here and get into your tornado safe place. Checking a little bit further north here, let's check out our storm here near Grapeland, Texas. This is approaching the 287 corridor. Still seeing that rotation in here. It's not as powerful as it looked earlier. It definitely has loosened up some. But still being warned for pretty large hail, ping pong ball size hail. And let's see if they have a wind report out of this storm. I would say at least about 60 mile an hour winds, also likely with this storm. Rotation right in this area here near Grapeland, headed over towards Refuge, Liberty Hill, Easley Chapel. And then north of that, we have quite a bit of high wind producing thunderstorms. This is along I-20 now. And we've mentioned you guys for a while, Marshall down to Tipson. This is going to keep riding along I-20, so eventually towards the Shreveport area and I-49. You guys need to watch out here along the state line, Vivian down to Shreveport and points south of Shreveport. This is a pretty strong cluster of storms. It was being, it's still being warned for 70 mile an hour winds. Also tornado possible tag. We can check out any velocities. Not seeing any particular velocities that are super tight at the moment, but we are seeing these wind surges. So you can see these Boeing segments in the line. One is coming right towards Marshall. That's going to be your higher winds in here. And then the other one coming towards Beckville. That definitely is surges of wind here along the leading edge of these thunderstorms. And then we also have to watch areas of rotation. They tend to form in the kinks in the line and these little notches. That's where there's a little bit more inflow coming into these storms. So we have inflow coming in like that, and then this is your outflow and your strong winds pushing out like that. Now that's coming into Beckville right now. We're also down the radial of the Shreveport radar. So as this radar scans out, the storm is coming in that direction, so we can get a better reading of the winds in those situations. The winds are meeting that radar head on. So that helps really verify that there are 60, 70 mile an hour winds. You can even see there's some higher readings, likely not reaching the ground level, but even if part of that reaches the ground level, there's going to be at least 50 to 60 to possibly even 70 mile an hour winds down in there. Now, meanwhile, we got some tornado warnings popping off. The storm near Madisonville, Texas, the one that we've also been watching for a while for rotation, has tightened up a little bit near Bedias, Texas. It's coming up towards Cotton. If that continues, it'll also head up towards the Madisonville, Texas area. So we really need to start paying attention to this cell. Rotation out here just along Texas 90. That's Texas Route 90, lifting north. This is a very small warning. So that's because it's moving northeast at 25, so they decided not to warn it out very far, but we still need to pay attention if you're out ahead of this warning here along Texas Route 90 and north and west of Badias, Texas. Definitely need to pay attention to that. If that circulation continues, it could kind of come up towards Cottonwood and Madisonville along Highway 45. So 2 tornado warned storms that are ongoing, and then we have a new tornado warning there in Texas. I also want to check in on our storms in Oklahoma. We got a new tornado warning out of here as well. So quickly, the lead storm is really weakening, at least on the rotation. The storm on the back end, the second storm in this warned area, has picked it up a little bit again, but still not seeing anything that indicates the tornado's on the ground. So the good sign here, still stay in your tornado safe space if you're up here towards Peggs, Teresita, Snake Creek, and maybe eventually lifting up towards Leech and Rocky Ford. This is a hard hit area. Leech had a tornado report last night, so these are pretty familiar towns to the tornado warnings this weekend. Not seeing any severe storms further north. Pretty much the severe weather, it would be 44 and south. A couple storms just to quickly check on here. Nope, not seeing much in the way of rotation right now. The storms have weakened moving out of the Tulsa area, so that's good news for the Tulsa area. But then we are looking at another storm that's showing rotation around the Eufaula area. I think we pointed this storm out a few minutes ago, but this is a storm that looks very similar to the storm that came up here by Crowder and Carlton Landing. It's lifting up towards Werner. It doesn't have the brightest rotation, but it's still rotating, so it's worthy of a severe thunderstorm that is capable of producing a tornado. We had a couple reports here near Crowder and Lake Eufaula of a tornado on the ground, and then reports of a funnel cloud. So definitely worth watching here. This is in a very similar environment to the previous storm that produced a tornado. At least in this area here of north, kind of east central Oklahoma, we do have some spotters out, so that's a good sign. If this drops a tornado, we'll likely get a confirmation from the spotters that are in this area that confirmed the last tornado. But this is coming a little more east. The last one was moving a little more north, so this is going to be Eufaula Lake again, Eufaula, Carlton Landing, and then maybe eventually over towards Porham and Whitefield. Especially if you know anyone on the lake here, you need to let them know there's another tornado warned storm. That's going to be some of these same areas: Vivian, Carter's Corners, Sam's Point, Eufaula, Carlton Landing, Canadian Fork, Highway 9 Landing, Enterprise, and Hoyt. That's in east central Oklahoma. Watching some more storms that are upscaling here in eastern Oklahoma, but those are the 2 primary ones. And then also want to quickly check on our storm that's coming through northwest Arkansas at the moment. Looks like primarily a wind threat. You can see that another area that's bowing out, that's headed towards the Bella Vista and Rogers and Bentonville area. More immediately, Sulphur Springs, Gravatt, Decatur, and Gentry are all in that warning. All right, back into Texas. Let's just check our storms here near Marshall, pushing up towards Jefferson. Yeah, these are strong storms. And then pushing into the 59 corridor from Beckville up to Carthage, Greenwood in Louisiana, Logansport and Tipson, and also Mansfield in Louisiana. You guys need to be indoors, away from windows. Not taking the full tornado precautions, but at least away from windows and indoors, because these are some dangerous storms. Likely have some 70-plus mile-an-hour winds blowing out here in Beckville, and then a little less punchy now looking in Marshall, but these are still likely 50, 60 mile-an-hour winds. They could easily take down some small trees, blow those into power lines. So we really need to take those seriously here if you're in Scottsville or Uncertain or Jefferson. And then watching little notches like this. This is a area here that we definitely need to pay attention to. These little notches can spin up pretty quickly. That's why this area does have a tornado possible tag on it. Back down to this storm here, they've really intensified the hail notification for this storm. So now it's up to tennis ball size hail. That's pretty chunky hail. That can do serious damage to your person already, regardless of a tornado threat. So really need to take this seriously. Crockett, Cooper, Lovelady, and then along Texas 7 here towards Kennard. If there's tennis balls falling out of the sky, that's not a good thing here. Coming up along 21 towards Crockett and Cooper. You guys definitely need to be in your safe space. Definitely not be on the top floor. Be away from windows. Still showing rotation. It has not really picked up the rotation much, but that said, it could drop a tornado at any time here. Cooper over towards Crockett. We can back up the radar here and see what the trend line has been like. When I started really noting it before it was tornado warned, it was starting to pick up rotation. But that has gotten weaker and broader a little bit. So that's one good news here for the areas around Cooper. Is a tornado may not be imminent, but we still need to take this seriously here as it's coming up towards Cooper, Crockett, and Lovelady, Texas. And then checking in on our small tornado warning down here, south of Madisonville. This actually does look like a better rotation. This is sliding up towards the Madisonville, Texas area. So if you're in Madisonville, let's start getting into your tornado safety measures. Jenkins, Connor, Lasola, Cottonwood, Madisonville. I would guess if this continues here along Texas 90, this is going to get a quick extension. There it is. I thought that was going to be the warning for this one, but I just wanted to double check that it was. But yeah, this is going to get the quick extension here that I was just mentioning. This is actually one of the tighter areas of rotation that we've seen over the last few minutes. So this is riding up just along and west of Texas 90. Be in your safe space if you're in Cottonwood, and then also just south, and really just be in your safe space here if you're in Madisonville. This warning touches Madisonville, and it's coming up in your direction, so let's get into your tornado safe space here. Along 90, south of Madisonville, and then coming up into Madisonville. Let me see if they've upped any changes into this here. So still northeast at 25. This is moving a little more north, though, than east. That puts it into Madisonville in about 15 minutes. So definitely time to start thinking of your tornado safe space here. Lowest level into your room, away from the doors, windows, and the outside. If you can get below ground, that's a storm shelter or basement, that's even better. And then definitely not in a temporary structure like a mobile home, camping trailer, or a garage-like structure that has just metal spans, things like that. We need to really start to hunker down here in the Madisonville area. You have this area rotation coming up towards you and about 15 minutes away. Also, if you're in Madisonville, don't try and go out and see this thing. It's going to be in here in the rain and hail, and this is a pretty sloppy HP supercell, high precipitation. So you're really not going to see this. If it's in here, it's going to be a rain-wrapped tornado. Not seeing anything that indicates a big CC drop like it's on the ground right now, but we're also looking a pretty high level away from the radar. So that's not great either, that we can't really verify ground truth with the CC unless it's a really strong tornado that's putting the debris up really high. I know I've drawn this for people, so if we're going to repeat viewers, you're going to get a repeat lesson here. But if this is our storm and we have our tornado down here lifting up debris, when we're closer to the radar site, we get a scan of the radar that's lower in the clouds. So if we start getting a tornado and it's lifting debris up, we can a lot of times see that with the lower scans. We can also see how tight that rotation is, and a tighter rotation on the lower level often indicates there is a tornado on the ground. But we're getting a scan from way out here, and not really that high, but something like this. It could be lifting debris, and we're just not seeing it because the debris isn't being lifted to our elevation level. So it's really hard to verify ground truth when we're this far away from the radar site. The caveat to that is if it's a really powerful tornado, it might lift debris to our site. So it just makes it a little trickier that being far away, we can really only see the stronger tornadoes. And this is, at least from our level here, it is tightening up some just to the west of Route 90 coming towards Madisonville. So wouldn't be surprised if we get a confirmation out of this one. This is a pretty tight little area rotation, about 10 to 15 minutes towards Madisonville. So you guys really need to take this seriously. This is just south of Cottonwood, along Texas 1372, along US 190 and Texas 90. And then on its current track, it'll be up into the Madisonville area. Seven miles southwest of Madisonville, moving northeast at 25. So that is our latest tornado warning. Want to check these storms out top to bottom again. So still seeing some rotation in here in this cell south of Locust Grove towards Iron Post and Snake Creek. Pegs, this is going to slide north of you guys now, but Snake Creek and Teresita and up towards Rose, you guys need to be in your tornado safe space. This is lifting north and east, generally towards the area around Rose. Doesn't look as impressive as it did earlier on reflectivity or the velocity, so some good news there. Some strong thunderstorms coming into northwest Arkansas, severe warning storms west of the higher populated cities, Bentonville and Rogers and Springdale. This is a severe warning storm up towards Sulphur Springs, Gravatt, Decatur, and Gentry. We'll see if that gets extended out. Tulsa, you guys are starting to clear out. You're starting to get on the back end of this. And then still a radar indicated tornado in this storm near Eufaula. It's lifting over Carter's Corner right now. It came out of the area around Rayford and Vivian. It's moving a little more east than north, but this is going to cross Eufaula Lake, Carlton Landing, Highway 9 Landing, Eufaula, Texana, Dutchess Landing, and Enterprise. You guys all need to be in your tornado safe space. Basically, if your community is around Eufaula Lake, time to get into your tornado safe space, away from windows, and be in the interior room. And if you know anyone on the lake, just give them a heads up again. Let them know that this is coming towards them. These are, in this area here, these are smaller storms. So it's not like they're going to see a massive wall of storms coming. They may just see a fairly small thunder shower. So someone over here in the lake may not realize that there's actually a tornado potential with this. So we really need to let them know. If you're in the Eufaula Lake area, let them know that that's a possibility. Still strong storms down here near Albion. That warning got extended out north and east, eventually approaching Havener. So I want to get back down to our storms here in Texas. Big bow echo here, now approaching the Texas and Louisiana state line. This is now through Carthage, through Beckville, and right now in Marshall. Next step in line is going to be Greenwood, Waxham, Scottsville, Uncertain, Vivian, Oil City, Mooringsport, Blanchard, and then into the Shreveport area. Just checking a few of these notches. Not seeing anything that is super imminent to produce a tornado, but we do have to watch those little notching situations. This is some really strong wind surging out here, basically along I-20 towards Shreveport. And getting a good look at the wind. So there's at least 50, 60, and 70 mile an hour winds in here. So that should verify. We're also getting pretty close to the Shreveport radar site, so that should verify that we're getting some really strong, severe winds in here. This area around Grapeland and Carthage looks like it's getting a new severe thunderstorm warning. They may drop this tornado warning. It's really broad rotation right now, and really not a threat for an imminent tornado, but it's going to get replaced with a severe thunderstorm warning for damaging winds and hail, and a tornado possible tag. Actually, the hail isn't even that big. Penny-sized hail, 60 mile an hour winds is your primary threat here. You can see this part of the storm is also starting to be a wind threat as it starts to push out here. The tornado threat is definitely diminished in that storm as it's come across Grapeland and now east of Grapeland towards Liberty Hill. The storm that is still a tornadic threat is near Cooper right now. I will say one good thing is the hail core has seemed to drop on this. We're not seeing those pinks and purples and even blues, but this is still a dangerous storm. Ping pong ball size hail and a possible tornado near Cooper. That's also located near Austinio, moving east at 30. You can still see this rotation in here. It's going to lift up towards the Crockett area, Lovelady, especially between Crockett and Lovelady. Yeah, there's Austinio right there. Lone Pine, Pearson's Chapel, Center Grove, Shady Grove, Hopewell, Barra and Arbor, Nottingham Woods, Druso, and Latexo, all in that warning. Still be in your tornado safe space here. And then back down here near Madisonville, we've had a really slow moving thunderstorm. So it's actually, Madisonville has been in the storm for quite a while now. Rain, hail, wind likely up here already in the Madisonville area. But down south of Madisonville here along Route 90, that's where your tornado potential is sitting. And that's between kind of Madisonville and Cottonwood down here just east of 90. If that does hold together, that could slide into the Madisonville downtown. We're just kind of watching it here to, it's a slow moving storm, so it's taking its time, which is good because if you're in the Madisonville area, it means you need to take your tornado safety measures and you don't have to rush, but it's time to start taking those. The circulation it's been small, but it's been there for a while. So it's been consistent. We can see if we get anything, but we're not really going to get anything unless it's a strong tornado. So not seeing anything that red flags this in the CC drops, but one thing we are seeing is there is some hail up in here towards Cottonwood. That's showing some of these hail cores up in here. A little closer where this rotation is, it's Farm to Market Road 1372. Coming up towards Farm to Market Road 1452, State Highway 21, State Highway 90, and State Highway 29 or 21 turns into Main Street, Madisonville. So this is down here just south of Main Street, south of 190 and State Highway 21. See this sitting in here. Still not seeing those CC drops, so that's a positive right now, but that is some decent tight rotation here, lifting up towards Madisonville. All right, so right now in Texas, 2 tornado warnings are going to extend out the one that we were just talking about. We'll detail that in just a minute. I want to take a look here at our tornado warnings here in Oklahoma. The one here is about to expire. It looks like it's going to get replaced with a severe thunderstorm warning. And I would agree that storm doesn't look as structured as it did earlier. It's going to have a larger tornado possible tag on the severe thunderstorm warning. So anywhere here, Pryor Creek, Locust Grove, north of Wagner, over towards Colcord and Jay, Langley and Grove, you guys do need to watch out. Tornado possible tag. These storms, this whole cluster has had some rotation at points, but not showing anything super tight at the moment. Southwest Missouri is going to get a severe thunderstorm warning for Southwest City, Knoll, Pineville, Anderson, Lanigan. This is the area that we left off with last night at about 2:30 at night. So very familiar with these cities here. You guys are back into a severe storm warning. Looks like damaging winds is your primary threat in here. Yeah, not seeing a lot of hail or tornadic circulation. So it's penny-sized hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds as that moves up along the I-49 corridor. This is also well south of Joplin at the moment, and also very south of Springfield. Still have a tornado warning for this area around Eufaula Lake. Yeah, there's still some rotation. There's still a little rotation picking up in the storm over the Eufaula area. It's a slow-moving storm, and it's headed up towards Dutchess Landing, Texana. It's in Eufaula right now. Still being in tornado-safe spaces here if you're out east of this. Highway 9 Landing, Enterprise, Hoyt, Texana, Dutchess Landing. This should slide pretty confident now. It's going to slide north of Canadian and Carlton Landing. And it'll likely slide north of the lake. So even down here towards Enterprise, you're going to want to keep an eye on it. But honestly, this is lifting up. You can see the lake is in here. This is going to lift basically Eufaula points north. And there we go. They just trimmed the... It's the weather guy watching this. Is the National Weather Service watching this? So there you go. Exactly what I was saying. Carlton Landing, Highway 9 Landing, Enterprise, and Hoyt, you guys are all clear of this thunderstorm. It's a problem here for the northern half of the lake, Dutchess Landing, Texana, Eufaula, and up towards Shady Grove. So just one tornado warning right now in Oklahoma. Quickly checking in on our storm here near Crockett. It's still rotating here near Cooper. But then our extension was a tornado warning here for Madisonville. We've been talking about you guys for a long time now. Still not seeing anything. This is going to be in the rain. So if you're in the Madisonville area, you're not going to see this. It's just going to come out of the rain pretty much. So very hard to verify on the correlation coefficient. But this tornado warning is going to extend out now. Madisonville up to Midway. Areas along I-45. North sides of Madisonville, that's Jenkins, Connor, Elwood, Crossroads, Old Elwood, Antioch, and Midway. Madisonville and points north and east along Texas Highway 21 and Texas Highway 75 towards Crossroads. You guys are all in the tornado warning, so it's been like 20 or 30 minutes now, so hopefully anyone that's in Madisonville has had a pretty good amount of time to get into their tornado safe space. It's now time to do that if you're up towards Midway, up towards Crossroads, Texas, and points north and east of Madisonville, points north and east of I-45. The direction this is going in general, this also may lift up towards some of the areas that have a tornado warning at the moment. We'll have to see about that. A little bit of rotation in this cell here, also west of Madisonville towards Zook, or Zolch, North Zolch. So that's worth watching too. The rotation we're really paying attention to is this tornado-warned storm here lifting north in Madisonville. And it's a really messy CC value. We're getting hail contamination from the hail cores in here. This rotation is also in the heavy rain. So if we get any confirmation, it'll come from ground truth. The hail is not the biggest threat actually with that storm, so that's a good thing. Let me just check and see what the SPC says. Let's see here. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, that's what I thought. We're getting a new tornado watch. And you can start to see it come in here. It's kind of filling in county by county on the radar, but it's for southern Arkansas, it's for northwest Louisiana, and a few counties in Texas still, down by Jasper, Texas. So it's going to be an extension essentially of the tornado watch that's in East Texas right now. It covers northwest northwest Louisiana, areas south of Texarkana, up to Warren, Louisiana, down towards Jena, Louisiana, Alexandria, and then DeRidder. So it's basically this area here. This is a new tornado watch that goes until two a.m. That is a late one. That goes till 2 a.m. for a couple of tornadoes possible, scattered hail up to ping pong ball sized, and scattered gusts up to 75 miles an hour are likely. So that is a late night tornado watch here, southern Arkansas, northwest Louisiana, and extreme eastern Texas, north of Beaumont, essentially, towards Jasper, Texas. So we should see that fill in here on the radar in a few minutes, but just know this area here in the Shreveport area is under a tornado watch. More immediately, Shreveport is under the threat of damaging winds. This is quickly approaching the Texas and Louisiana state line here between Marshall and Shreveport, up towards Linden and Vivian, and then down towards areas north of Tipson. Still watching this dangerous storm here between Grapeland and Wells. Has a tornado possible tag. There is still rotation showing up here. This is the storm that was previously tornado warned. It's going to slide between Rusk and Wells with that circulation along US 69. That holds together, watch out here, Cushing and Nacogdoches, Texas. The storm should hold together, so even if the rotation doesn't, likely a damaging wind, hail threat coming eventually towards Nacogdoches. Crockett and Cooper are still in the tornado warning. Still broad rotation showing up in that area. Nothing imminently concerning of a tornado there for those communities, but still stay in your tornado safe place. Lovelady up to Crockett and Latexo and over towards Cooper. And then I want to get back to the circulation that was essentially over Madisonville. So you can see this circulation. I'll bring it back a couple scans. It actually was pretty tight for a couple scans here. It's still here. It's just not quite as robust as it was a few minutes ago. But still a dangerous storm here. Rotation pretty much right over Madisonville. That's lifting up towards Midway, Jenkins, Connor, and Elwood, and Antioch, and Crossroads. That storm likely has hail and damaging winds in it. Still watching the new development. There's still storms around the College Station area that are lifting north, northeast, as well as the areas around Huntsville and New Waverly in Texas. So still watching for some development down there. Also seeing a few scattered showers still developing in our tornado watch areas here east of San Antonio, between San Antonio and Houston. So areas to watch here as the evening goes on. Back up in northeastern Oklahoma, some damaging wind threats and hail threats are the primary threat here for these storms. These storms here are lifting into Missouri from Bella Vista, Arkansas. Those may eventually get over towards Ozark and Branson along US 65 here in southwest Missouri. And then a whole cluster of severe warning storms near Locust Grove, Langley. Honestly, don't look that impressed right now, but likely have some small hail and damaging winds in those storms. This area south of Tulsa near the Lake Eufaula area has had some low top cells that haven't looked very impressed on radar, but they've had some spin in them. So we definitely need to keep an eye on these storms here. Bixby, Henrietta, down to the Lake Eufaula area, McAllister, Oklahoma. They're not particularly impressive, but they... See, here's one right here that has some rotation on it. Yeah, it doesn't look that... It looks just like a tiny little thunder shower, but it's got a little rotation on it. There's one up here. Looks like towards Winchester. A few of these down near Lake Eufaula have had some funnels and even a confirmed tornado near Crowder. So we need to pay attention to those. This tornado warning is still going out along the Lake Eufaula area. The rotation doesn't look as tight as it did earlier as it came across Vivian and Carter's Corner. Eufaula, this is going to be north of you guys now. And Carter's Corner, you're good. Fame, this is going to be on the other side of the lake from you. But still watch out here if you're in Texana and Dutchess Landing. Maybe as far north here as Shady Grove. New severe thunderstorm warning storm here in Oklahoma City area for 1-inch hail damaging winds. This is west of Oklahoma City. Yeah, this is one that like 40 minutes ago was nothing. So we've really seen some upscaling here out by Union City and El Reno and Oklahoma. Not seeing a rotation at the moment, but this is being warned for already hail and high winds. You can see the hail court in there, the purples towards Union City and El Reno. And it's only moving east at 15, so this could be a flood threat for this area here in Oklahoma. A few other storms look like they're back building here north of Edmond. So we could see a few other storms in this area here. Norman, Oklahoma, Shawnee, down to Ardmore. Still watching some broad rotation near Crockett. This is going to get replaced with a severe thunderstorm warning and tornado possible note in there. That's going to come up towards Kennard. Kennard, we called you guys earlier. It was time to get the car in the garage and the carport and get into sturdy shelter. Now the storm is approaching you guys quicker. So now it's really time to get into that sturdy shelter. Stay away from windows. You got a dangerous storm with some hail and damaging winds coming your way. Checking in on the storm here in Madisonville. Still rotating. It's a slow-moving storm lifting north in Madisonville. Have not had a tornado confirmation, so that's a good sign. It's coming across a pretty populated city here. So if there was a tornado on the ground, we likely would have gotten a confirmation of that. And watching this storm still, the storm west of Madisonville is severe warned. That has some rotation in it as well. It's in the same environment essentially as the Madisonville storm. So if one is going to rotate, its neighbor might rotate as well. Just watching those pretty closely. And then we're going to get a new tornado warning for that storm near Rusk. That one had a tornado warning at one point, but it was allowed to expire. It looks like rotation is picking back up here between Beulah, Redlawn, Alto, and south of Rusk. So this is along 69 towards Redlawn, Alto, Linwood, Weeping Mary, County Line, Atoy, and Beulah. Especially the rotation here towards Beulah. That would be lifting generally towards the Redlawn and Alto area in Texas. Good news for the moment here is there's no tornado warnings in Oklahoma. The cell that was over Eufaula looks like it's weakened. Yeah, it's definitely weakened. Watching though a couple of newer storms, similar to Oklahoma City area, the storm has popped up pretty quickly, and is already showing a hail core that's coming towards Slick and Bristow. Other storms to watch are in that same similar environment. This one near Bristow does have a little rotation on it. It's similar to those storms that have popped up around Eufaula. So that's worth watching. Gypsy, Iron Post, up towards Tabor, Slick, and Bristow. At least the bigger threat, though, for that is the wind and the hail threat. Checking in on our area around Buena Vista in northwest Arkansas. Yeah, damaging winds are the primary threat there. And then also Kansas now in the act with the severe thunderstorm for the Columbus, Kansas area. Mostly looks like hail and wind. 60-mile-an-hour wind. There shouldn't be a ton of storms that go severe north of, especially north of 44, but you may get a couple in here. This one here towards Pittsburgh, Kansas. Looks like there's a stronger storm approaching Lake of the Ozarks right now, towards Hermitage in Missouri. And I do want to take a peek up here. St. Louis looking clear for right now. There was a conditional risk for a few strong storms up here. And at least right now, not seeing much. There are some storms that are going up here in southwest Iowa. And a little bit here in northwest Missouri. Yeah, similar to that storm in Oklahoma City area. These weren't much just about 45 minutes ago. And they have upscaled. This one, especially here near Lenox, Iowa, could have some small hail in that one. All right, checking in 2 tornado warned storms. One here approaching Alto and Rusk with 1-inch hail. And then also That rotation is broadened around Madisonville, so that's a good sign. Still some strong storms south of Madisonville down towards College Station. Could have some small hail, gusty winds. A couple points of rotation to watch, but not seeing anything that's super impressive there. Strong winds coming through Crockett right now. Maybe some small hail. And up towards Shreveport, we have some really strong storms coming into the Shreveport metro immediately. So if you're in Shreveport and out ahead of this, you guys need to be in your tornado, not your tornado seat. You need to be inside, away from windows, in a sturdy structure, because this is being warned for 70-mile-an-hour winds. They did drop it down. That's good. 60-mile-an-hour winds and a tornado possible. Still, though, if you're in Shreveport, Belcher, Benton, Houghton, Blanchard, and then south of Shreveport, Stonewall, and Mayors, you guys need to definitely be inside, away from windows. These storms have had a history of damaging winds. I also want to take a look at this storm here in southeast Oklahoma. The one that was near Albion still has a little rotation in here, but this is mostly a damaging wind threat for those communities there. And then still watching this storm here near El Reno with some larger hail, and it's not moving much, so maybe a flood threat over there. Storm south of Bristow. A little bit of rotation, but mostly a hail threat. Some back building here into Tulsa. So there's a few other showers and storms coming up your way. A strong storm here towards Jay. Should have some gusty winds in that. Yeah, the storm in Madisonville isn't looking as impressive as it did earlier. It's starting to get interaction with all the storms around it. So we'll have to see as that kind of organizes into its own cluster of storms here, as this will eventually push towards the Huntsville, Texas area. Shreveport itself, Shreveport is in a tornado warning. This is for that notch that's actually right over the radar site right now. I saw it a few minutes ago, but I wasn't able to really do much with it. I couldn't tell if it was a full notch in an area of rotation or if it was just a radar hole. But I think this is actually a area here of rotation that's come and picked up here south of Greenwood. It's now right over the radar site. Steeplechase, Chateau Village, Cedar Grove, Broadmoor Terrace, Eastgate, Shreveport, downtown Shreveport. That would be Bossier then, as well as on the other side. Pelican or Pecan Park, Houghton, Marywoods, Fillmore. If you're in Shreveport and along I-20, on either side of I-20, this is a tornado warning here. For Shreveport, it's a radar indicated tornado for Caddo Parish and central Bossier Parish in northwestern Louisiana. This is a storm capable of producing a tornado over Shreveport, moving northeast at 60. So this one is a quick moving storm. If you're out in Houghton, Fillmore, Marywoods, Brookhaven Estates, you guys don't have a ton of time because this is coming at you highway speeds down I-20. Okay, this is going to be... This is going to be on our cameras here. So let's adjust this around here and we can show it to you. Okay, we can see the shelf cloud out ahead of this here. This is looking west in Shreveport, Louisiana. We have the live DOT traffic cam up. So this notch here, we're starting to see a little bit of it here as it comes out on the other side of the radar site. But essentially we have this notch in here. This is where the storm is getting inflow, surging out cooler air on this side, and your tornado in this situation likes to sit right in here in this notch. So uncontaminated, warm, humid inflow is coming in over the Shreveport downtown right now. You have surging winds on the south side. That's likely going to lead to some damaging winds south side. And you can see the shelf cloud coming at this camera right now. Again, this is moving east-northeast at 60 miles an hour, so it's probably coming at this camera about the same speed as these cars are. This is going to be coming through Shreveport, Chateau Village, Cedar Grove, Broadmoor Terrace, Southgate Estates, Foster's, Houghton, Oakland, Fillmore. You guys are all in the tornado warning here. And as it comes out the other side, we should be able to get a better view of this from the radar site. Okay, we can see the surge in winds, and I think those last couple scans, we can see it tighten up. So that's what we're looking at right here. And so still hard to see right now. It's right over the radar site. Another area that is worth looking at is this Black Bayou Lake area near Vivian. I see a little bit of rotation up there in that part of the line. And again, you can see there's a little notch in here. So area to watch here, it's kind of doing the same thing. This will be coming eventually over towards Plain Dealing, and it's over Vivian right now. If that continues to slide east, Spring Hill, Cullen, Plain Dealing, that's a part of the line you need to watch out for as well. But right now, our main circulation point would be just here in Shreveport over Cedar Grove, Broadmoor Terrace, Chateau Village. We're really seeing this come in here on the camera. The shelf cloud, and likely would be seeing any, if there is a tornado, we would see possibly that circulation on this camera. So this appears to be giving us a little bit of ground truth that this is still a radar indicated area of rotation. But we're seeing basically this Boeing segment here is pushing right out towards our traffic cam. Our traffic cam is looking west-southwest. So we're looking right at the area of rotation, right on the leading edge. And we can already see the camera starting to bounce around a little bit. This is coming into Shreveport immediately right now. So If you're in Shreveport, lowest level into your room, away from windows. Watching this area here. Camera is really starting to shake. If there's anything, it would be right back in this area here, just to our left of the tower, of the radio tower. That is that area right here, coming generally towards Houghton in Louisiana. Quickly here, a new tornado warning for the Madisonville area. It's the cell that was behind it has now swinging through Madison with more circulation, so that's going to continue up towards Midway, Elwood, and Old and Crossroads. So this is our circulation here that we want to keep watching. Right now I can see it a little better on the reflectivity, but that notch is right in here, just into Shreveport, along I-49 and I-20. This camera is about to get hammered, and we didn't see any tornadic circulation on that camera, so this is likely verifying the ground truth that it's just a radar indicated tornado. That said, though, we still have another tornado warning coming out for Nacogdoches, Texas. We called you guys out earlier. You need to be ready for this storm. This is that circulation that's over Alto right now. That has picked up, and that's going to keep moving east, northeast towards Nacogdoches and Appleby, Texas, along Texas Highway 21. Storm right now looks like it's over Alto, Morrill, Red Lawn, and if you're out ahead of this, Looneyville, Oak Flat, Lilbert, County Line, Nat, Winter Hill, Eden, and Nacogdoches proper. You need to take that tornado warned storm seriously here. All right, let's take a look here at our storm here. So we can see that notch developing as it came into Shreveport. We can see that notch here along US 79 south and west of Greenwood. That wrapped up a little tighter as it came into the radar site here, and especially since we were so close to the radar site, we can see some of that lower level rotation right in there. And then it's continued to push past the radar site. It does not look as intense of a rotation as it did before it went through the radar site. We can see here there's still a notch just as it's coming out of the radar site. But here it's more of a linear line on the latest scan coming through Shreveport. We're not seeing that deep intake of inflow. What we are seeing here is our traffic camera getting dumped on here. Look at that. The wind is basically blowing down the highway. You can really see that wind here on the traffic cam. In the lights of the cars, you can see it blowing across the highway. That is a pretty intense squall line here that we're seeing live via the Louisiana DOT traffic cam. Again, our traffic cam is basically in downtown Shreveport. So we're seeing that come across our traffic cam as we speak. Now that we're getting a little further out of the radar site, we can start to see the wind profiles again. There's still likely 50 to 70 mile an hour winds pushing through here on the leading edge. We saw the camera shake quite a bit, and still seeing some pretty strong gusts indicated by the rain blowing across the highway there. All right, pulling back a little bit from Shreveport. Just want to check again. No tornado warnings right now in Oklahoma and in our Arkansas and Missouri counties in this northern tornado watch. So that's a good sign right now. Right now we have 3 tornado warned storms. One is in Madisonville in Texas with some large hail coming through the Madisonville area right now. And still have that circulation sitting just north side of Madison. That's going to be coming up towards Midway along Texas 21. Still just a radar indicated tornado there. And then Nacogdoches, Texas. You guys have a area of rotation that's west of you around Alto. That's also going to be riding along Texas Highway 21 towards the areas Nacogdoches and points north and west especially. If you're between Nacogdoches and Cushing, Texas, you need to take this warning seriously. The storm has had rotation for a while, so it's tried to produce tornadoes. We have not seen it yet produce a confirmed tornado since we started the stream, but it may still try here. It has a little bit of energy left. It's 7:20 Central Time, so there's still a little bit of daylight left. And also, usually around sundown, the low-level jet kicks in a little stronger, so we could see a little intensification if it can tap some of that energy. Back to Shreveport, still seeing areas of strong winds. There's another bit of a surge here coming out towards Mayors. You can see the bulge in the strong winds here. So now we have to watch if there's any new notching. It'd be this area here taking inflow. Generally, this area all needs to be watched here, coming between Mayors and basically Benton. So areas are already under a tornado warning, so we don't really have to worry immediately about any specific notch since this whole area is covered. And really seeing this traffic cam. I might try and let me see if I get a different traffic cam out ahead of this line again. So this is at I-220 and I-20 here, just near Whitehurst and Foster's. So this is just out on the leading edge of this Boeing segment here. You can really start to see those winds are going to smash into this traffic cam, and it's really starting to shake. This is looking I guess it's looking west. Traffic closest to this camera is traveling eastbound I-20. So we're looking back towards the storm. Can't see the clouds, but we can at least see the rain and wind coming at us. Starting to see this area surge out a little bit here towards Foster's. Some really strong winds in here. And beyond this tornado warning, this is going to get a big severe thunderstorm warning for everything east of Shreveport towards Minden and Ruston. That also goes up into Arkansas, Magnolia, Arkansas, Spring Hill, Louisiana, right on the state line. That covers Bradley, Plain Dealing, Haynesville, Collin, Cotton Valley, Homer, Gibbsland, Arcadia, Ruston, Jonesboro, Louisiana, Ashland, Martin, and Coushatta, all in northwest Louisiana and southwest Arkansas. All right, we're starting to see this camera get into the car wash. Yeah, starting to see those rain curtains in the lights here of this camera. So once again, our camera is right here on the leading edge at Winterhurst, at I-220 and I-20. Look at the camera blowing now. The sheets of rain just crossing the camera view. Those are really strong winds. Those are pretty strong winds. Those are definitely severe thunderstorm winds here. Yeah, you can just see the sheets of rain just crossing the camera. If you don't have to be out on I-20 right now, headed into Shreveport, you know, especially if you're out ahead of this line towards Ruston, if you can let this line pass, especially the severe part of the line, I mean, you're running into a big car wash here, a wall of rain, wind, possible embedded tornado circulations. Again, our camera's getting it right now. Our camera's right here at I-20 and 20 and 220. So next up in the tornado warned area is Houghton in Louisiana. I don't think that area is going to get warned out. It doesn't seem to be as rotating as tight as it was earlier. Have to watch for new rotation points though, like this area here is starting to get a little bit of a notch. That'd be coming up towards Bellevue and Linton. But regardless of any tornado warning, if you're in this large warning here that covers southern and southwest Arkansas and much of western Louisiana, you need to take this pretty seriously here. So into your room, away from windows. And also if you're in a trailer out ahead of this, if you're in like a mobile home or a camping trailer and you're out here near Ruston, it's time to get into a sturdy structure that's a permanent built structure, because if you're getting hit with a hurricane force wind, that could easily knock a mobile home off the moorings, and or if you're out here fishing or camping, this could damage a camping trailer pretty easy. So Minden all the way through Ruston and points south of there towards Jonesboro, Dodson. You got a few minutes before this line's going to hit you. It's time to get into that safe space. Also up towards Magnolia and Haynesville. So it's these little areas here that you have to watch. Here's another one, trying to get some inflow and surge some outflow. Let's see. Not much in the way of rotation, at least on the velocity scan. Here is that notch that I mentioned out earlier here, though. I think our velocity and our reflectivity are a step off of each other, but this notch is looking a little more impressive here. You can see a big surge of wind, and then your inflow is sitting back here. That is likely a pretty damaging wind gust in this area. This is 60 to 70 mile an hour winds easy. There's even possibility of some higher wind in here. Not all these values are hitting the ground, but we're seeing confirmation of this here by looking at the traffic cams. That there's some serious wind in this squall line that's coming at you. Checking in on our Texas tornado warning storm. Still rotating pretty good here between Alto and Nacogdoches, Texas, along, this is Texas Highway 21. Let me slide this over here so you can see it. So still getting pretty good rotation in here. This is along and south right now of Texas State Highway 21. Nacogdoches, need to get to your safe space. Alto, let's stay in our safe space just another few minutes here. Let me shrink the DOT camera for... You can really see the rain curtains sweeping across that camera. So yeah, Alto, still stay in your safe place another few minutes, but this circulation is headed east of you guys on Highway 21. Nacogdoches, it's time to start taking your tornado safety measures if you haven't already, and then up towards Cushing, and especially pushing south of there. Between Nacogdoches and Cushing, you guys need to be in your tornado safe space. We can check reflectivity. Not seeing anything that stands out in that rotation, but this area here is particularly tight. Let me see. There's a little lower value there, so we do have to keep an eye on that. Could be something going on right in this area. There's a bit of a drop in the CC right there. But it's too hard to confirm that at the moment. Madisonville is getting hammered still in Texas with heavy thunderstorms and rotation now pushing along 45 towards Jenkins. That's going to lift up towards Midway. And then also seeing some broad rotation in this cell to the south near Keith. This is a cell to keep your eye on here near Keith. If this wraps up a little more, this is on the tail end of these storms, so it has a little bit easier access to some uncontaminated inflow. That would be coming towards Keith, Singleton, and eventually if it slides over toward the east, Huntsville. Looks like our storms here in northern Arkansas are subsevere, coming up towards Monette and Purdy. Now with some gusty winds, but subsevere also in Missouri. And then around the Fort Smith area do have some strong storms, especially north side of Fort Smith. And this area here in southeast Oklahoma coming up towards Havener. That area is rotating a little bit. That is a little bit suspicious down here near Havener. So watch this storm as it comes up your way. If that tightens up, that could warrant a tornado warning for this area near Havener. Luckily, there's not too many people out here. This is in the mountains in southeast Oklahoma. So they have allowed that tornado warning to expire for Louisiana, but still areas here that have potential to spin back up. Area here south of Houghton, if that surges out, and then area north of Houghton, that particular area has some really strong winds, and if that surges out a little tighter, could wrap up. And a little bit up here towards Plain Dealing as well. This is kind of what the models were suggesting earlier today. They were suggesting that a convective system would develop here, and that will likely, according to some of the models, go through Louisiana overnight and even into the morning towards Baton Rouge and New Orleans. may have a little bit of a severe weather chance there. But especially for overnight here, it's going to be eastern Texas and northern and western Louisiana. And then also down here in Texas, we have to watch for these individual cells still. Like the one over Madisonville, the one near Trinity right now is getting a severe thunderstorm warning. Has a little bit of broad rotation at the upper levels there. You can see our rotation a little bit over here in Madisonville. This is the next one in Texas that I would be worried about for a tornado. Is this area here, Keith, over to Singleton and over toward Badias in Texas. We called you guys out earlier. Not showing particularly strong rotation at the moment, but this is another one where it's starting to really tap that inflow. If it can wrap itself around a little tighter, could create a tighter rotation. That's lifting into the Keith area right now towards Singleton. Again, not tornado warned right now, and it's not tight enough where it needs a tornado warning, but it still is worth watching. So is this one along Highway 21. This storm is still a pretty dangerous storm here. Circulation is sitting back in the rain too along Highway 21 between Alto and Nacogdoches, Texas. That area that I mentioned earlier up towards Plain Dealing, that's going to be your new area for a tornadic circulation. You can see it here. That one actually is a lot more suspicious. That may be something right in here that we have to watch here. Also, this area here has some pretty strong winds in here as well. There's two areas of circulation I'm watching here in areas just north and east of Plain Dealing. This is going to go up into Arkansas, Bradley, Spring Hill, right on the state line between Arkansas and Louisiana. Bradley, and let's see, Harmony, Walter Creek, Walnut Grove in Arkansas, Canfield in Arkansas. This whole section is actually quickly spun up a couple areas of rotation. There's 3 areas that are interesting. And you can see here they were not that impressive when we first spotted them around Plain Dealing, but they've quickly tightened up some areas of rotation here as it's come through Plain Dealing. This one may have had something in here. There's a little bit of a CC drop in here, and picked it up as it's lifted up this way. This could be along the leading edge, but it also looks a little bit suspicious that it co-located with this area of rotation for a little while. Again, these are hard to fully confirm on the CC because the leading edge of these of these Boeing line segments is going to kick up some dust and debris anyway on the leading edge. So you can already see like these are CC drops, but they're not tornadic CC drops. It's picking up clear air, but also dust, debris, twigs, leaves, stuff that sometimes shows up in a tornadic circulation, but it's just on the leading edge of this line of storms. Not seeing them here, so that may have been something. It's hard to tell. There was just a couple scans, but that may have been a little bit of a circulation in this particular area right here. And we can see that again as that area intensified in circulation. Either way, though, this area has picked up, and then there's still kind of 3 areas of circulation in here. They're coming up towards Spring Hill, Taylor, Bradley, areas here along the Louisiana and Arkansas state line. Also, taking a look at this area here, that looks more impressive on the velocity than it does in the reflectivity, so that's a good sign. Our storm here near Nacogdoches is going to get a new tornado warning. This is going to be good news for Nacogdoches. It looks like it's going to slide north of you guys, but it's starting to head more northeast. So it's going to be a bit more of an issue for Cushing, Appleby, Mount Enterprise, and Garrison in Texas. Now it's time for those communities to take their tornado safety precautions. Especially if you're on the west and north sides of Nacogdoches, I would still be hunkered down in your tornado safe space. Looks like our camera went down in the rain. Well, we'll leave the DOT cameras off for a little bit, but yeah, there's a couple areas to watch here as this line continues out, and then especially the tornado warned areas up here near Spring Hill in Louisiana. Even without a tornado, these are going to also, as you can see, actually lead to some increase in the wind gusts. So an already severe line of thunderstorms, and this is going to just amp that up even more. Even if you don't get a tornadic circulation out of this, it's going to be 50 to 70 mile an hour winds as this lifts up towards Bradley, Taylor, and Spring Hill. Good news is our storms down here near Madison have been allowed to drop the tornado warning. They're still giving a tornado possible tag for this storm that's coming up towards Badias. This is that storm that I mentioned earlier that had the best look for a short-term tornado near Keith. So it is continuing to be monitored here, looks like, by the Weather Service for that area rotation, but also hail and gusty winds are possible up through Badias, Cotton, Mossy Grove, areas south of Madisonville now. Have to really start paying attention to that storm. And then, yeah, the severity is decreasing overall, especially up towards the Tulsa area and along 44. Still some gusty winds here near Purdy, Cassville, Monette, and Aurora. And then still a nasty storm coming towards Havener in southeast Oklahoma. This is going to get an extended tornado possible severe thunderstorm warning. Yeah, this has a pretty good structure on it here. So wouldn't be surprised if that can tighten itself up, that could produce a tornado down here in southeast Oklahoma. Either way, large hail, gusty winds. That's approaching Havener, Worcester, Poteau, and Hartford on the Arkansas side of things. The storm behind it also has a little circulation. So right now, kind of two tornado warned storms. The one here near Nacogdoches and points north, and then the areas of circulation that are up here between Bradley and Plain Dealing, right on the Arkansas and Louisiana state line. That the one that was particularly tight a few minutes ago has dropped off a little bit, so that's a good sign. And not seeing those CC drops. We may have had a little CC drop over here at one point. And it's still watching areas like this, but the rotation, the higher winds do seem to be leading out ahead of the reflectivity a bit. So that's a good sign here for these storms, possibly on the downtrend towards Minden, Gibson Land, Arcadia, and Ruston. You still got to take it seriously, though, if you're out ahead of this in the warning. And then checking down here in Nacogdoches area. Hard to see what's going on there, but that rotation is still between Nacogdoches and Cushing, Texas, coming up eventually towards Appleby and Mount Pleasant, Texas. And again, we have the tornado possible tag on this storm, our southern storm right now, near coming out of Keith and headed towards Badias, Texas, with some large hail and some rotation in here near Badias. All right, let me check in on see what the Weather Service is, if there's any updates to the National Weather Service. Not much new information right now for the National Weather Service. We're definitely watching that area here around Fort Smith. Yeah, particularly that storm near Havener, approaching Havener with a pretty tight area of rotation here. And generally lifting up towards the Havener area, that's going to be one to keep our eye on. If that tightens up anymore, I wouldn't be surprised if this gets a tornado warning into the Havener area. And then just checking again here, our rotation seems to be centered more into the Bradley area. So areas around Plain Dealing, you guys are done for the severe weather and the tornado threat. Taylor up to Bradley and then points north of there, still possible with a tornado. Good news is that line is looking a little less strong. The strongest part is this area along the Arkansas-Louisiana state line, Collin Valley, and then that tornado-warned section over in Bradley. So here's a look at everything right now. We have a developing MCS cluster of storms. That's going to continue overnight, and that's why the tornado watch here in northwest Louisiana goes till 2 a.m. So we definitely need to be paying attention and be weather aware here. If we're in northern Louisiana, northwest Louisiana, if we're in northwest Louisiana and southeast Texas especially, I think the tornado chance is probably the highest for individual cells north of Houston. The tornado chance for quick QLCS type spin-ups is going to be the highest here in southern Arkansas and northwest Louisiana, 20 especially. So yeah, that would be areas that I'm most concerned about here going into the night. Damaging winds and maybe some small hail are going to be the primary threats here from Springfield, Joplin, down into northwest Arkansas. The area here that I've mentioned earlier in the Havener, Oklahoma area is going to get a tornado warning. This area has a pretty good area tight rotation coming right into the Havener, Oklahoma area. So that is going to be one to watch here as the evening continues. We may be able to get a good look at this storm. It's wrapping up pretty tight here near Havener. Still not the strongest rotation, but it's worth paying attention to here as it heads north and east and at 30 miles an hour. So that's going to be eventually Havener over to Hartford. At 30. That puts it in, let's see, that puts it at Hartford in about 40 minutes. So Havener, you got about 5 minutes until the circulation gets you. And then, so you need to be in your safe space here if you're in the Havener area, and especially points west and south of Havener in Arkansas. And then there's not much population until you get up to Hartford in Arkansas. Havener is in Oklahoma. But that's about 40 minutes to the Hartford area. So Hartford over to Gilmore, Oklahoma, and down to Havener, points in and around Havener along US 59. Need to really be paying attention to that storm here. We called it out earlier. It looked like it was getting its act together, and it certainly has here in the last couple scans coming into the Havener area. Evening here for the stream. So thank you guys very much.